Alright, so I forgot to show sneak, so let me show you that. So I built the sneak option in here. And again, so movement is either touch, or double tap, or if you click close to and hold down, he goes into a sneak mode. And then he basically will just follow wherever you're touching. And I put this in there so that you could potentially, and again, you know, it's a little wonky because I got strafing stuff, but this allows you to walk through debris fields without tripping and falling. And it also allows you to walk through ice fields and avoid slipping. And the slipping is based upon the velocity that you're moving, which is why he has to get up to a certain speed before he slips. But so yeah, so he can avoid environmental obstacles by going into kind of a sneak mode. All right, so that's that. Let me bring in the pet character, and I'll show you the AI system that I've got so far. So I have right now a pet AI and enemy AI. So I'm using the behavior designer, which is another Unity asset, and I'm creating behavior trees, which is infinitely superior to trying to develop AI on your own with nested enum switch statements, case statements, and all that junk. So when I click play, the pet will start his behavior tree. These things will expand out. Yeah, there we go. So here's the pet tree. Now, when I have the behavior tree editor open, the screen can get pretty choppy. Matter of fact, it just doesn't respond well at all. I don't know why that is. And you'll see movement down here in the scene view is relatively choppy, but the pet's doing its thing. Right now the pet is in the tracking branch of the tree. That's his default. And when the pet is tracking, he's basically staying within distance of you. And in all behaviors, the pet always has a sense of where you are, and he will stay within distance of you. He acts like a good pet. Let me undo that so it smooths out. There we go. You can see right when I turn off the behavior tree in the editor, the frame rate dramatically improves. So here's our pet, and he just kind of goes about doing his thing. Right now he's sniffing the ground. He's basically looking for an enemy. He'll stop and he'll do a little scratch. He'll dig on the ground. He will randomly look for points of interest in the environment. When he sees a point of interest that interests him, he will go up to it, circle it, and then take a leak on it, urinate on it. So that's kind of funny. And he'll randomly come back to you and just seek your attention or whatever, and then he goes back off and tracks. So I have a variety of commands. So I have patrol, I have tracking, I have gathering for gathering resources, and then I can just call him to come to me. So if I send him on patrol, he immediately goes off on patrol. And if I go back to the character controller, you can see what he's doing here. So in patrol, he circles around in a circumference, and this is his track that he's following. And I have indicators. I'm using indicators for everything. A little targeting reticles based upon what he's doing. Here he is running after the little black dot as he runs his patrol circle around me. So it's relative to where I am, and he's patrolling the area around me. He has a huge view of the environment beyond what I can see, and the idea is the wolf will sense an enemy long before I would. When he senses an enemy, he'll come to me and do a little pointer animation and show me the direction of the enemy. The enemies will not have even seen me by that point. So the idea is the pet is used to give you a heads up of what you have to face, assuming you have him on patrol, or he does the same thing in tracking as well, but he's not going to cover such a broad area. So while he's tracking and patrolling, he's doing a sort of randomized stop and check out, you know, this little area, and he's sniffing around for tracks. If I go into him, there he goes. So there he's kind of looking around, whatever. So then I have, I can call him anytime I want, and he'll come back to me. And let me walk into him, and we do a little interaction. So I have an interaction system built so that at certain times I can, the player and the pet will interact with each other with a little affection. Okay, so that's basic, the basic commands to the pet, and now he goes back off onto his default tracking. So at any time I want, I can switch the mini cam so that the camera is, so now I'm in control of, or the camera is focused on the pet. And as soon as I click the screen, I take control of the pet. Because my idea with this is during combat, at any time I may want to, actually let me go back to smooth that out, there we go. At any time I may want to take control of the pet and target a specific enemy. And so I wanted to be able to have it so that the player has a limited amount of AI, the pet is mostly AI, but you can switch controls between the two. And so I switch like this, and the minicam goes back to the pet, and now I'm controlling the player, and my minicam is showing me where my pet is. I go to patrol, and the minicam is staying on the pet. So the minicam always provides me a view of what's going on with my pet, even if he's outside of my, view of distance here. And at least that's the idea. And then if I switch, I'm back to the main camera focused on the pet, but I can see what my player is doing up here. And I don't have any AI built on the player yet. So that's the idea between the minicam switching back between pet and player, pet and player. Now the other thing I can do, let's call him in close, is at any time I can, so I just called him, I can pause the game, and right now my idea for pausing is I'm just going to pause the characters. Everything else is unpaused, so the environment remains unpaused, which allows me to still have control over the camera. So once you're in paused mode, think about those games that while you're in combat it lets you pause, and then I can retarget enemies, switch between player and pet, and just kind of set things up for how I want. If you click this button, it does reset. And again, all the touch controls work. So I can pinch to zoom in and out, or I can double touch with a rotation motion to rotate the camera. Or if I get disoriented, I can always just click reset, and it'll reset back to the default, whatever the default camera setting is. So that's the camera settings, and then I can hit play and resume the game. So that's the most basic pet interaction. I think that pretty much covers just about all that. I don't have gathering built at all. All I have is the tracking, the patrol, and the call, because I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do for the survival aspect of the game, which is gathering resources to have build arrows and stuff like that. Because I do have a crossbow, it's just not functional yet. I don't have any kind of range combat. It's been enough work just getting the close-up sword and shield combat. So let me bring in, let's see, did I cover everything with the pet? Oh yeah. So I'll show you if I go into combat mode and I happen to trip over something. It doesn't matter what state he's in. If I trip over a rock here and drop my weapons, he'll help me out. So he immediately goes and retrieves weapons for me, and he'll try to drop it to me, and I picked that one up. I hit the trigger for that. So I was going to show you that. So even if you ignore the weapon, he should go back to that, I think. Let's see. There we go. He goes back. He was a little confused as to why you weren't grabbing the weapon. And he will bring the weapon to you, and then you pick it up. And so the whole, he's helping you out. And then he's got back to his default behavior, which in this case I have set to tracking. Although the icon shows calling. So these icons are supposed to be indicators to show you what you have him on. Obviously that's not, that doesn't work exactly right. Yeah, and I know why that is, right? Because I did call, but then by default he switched back to his default tracking, and the icon didn't switch back. Yeah, I can fix that, no big deal. So I mean, you can, any time that they're doing that interaction thing, if you just click, you can exit that thing, because you never know, you might have an enemy come up on you or something, so you need to exit stuff quick. So that takes care of the pet and the camera system, and I will do another video for combat.